So you want to be a truck driver? Well, I'm going to explain some of this stuff to you so you can make up your mind and make an intelligent decision, because this life and lifestyle is not for everyone. Now, I want to welcome you to Randy's Trucking Life. Here I share my experiences, successes, and failures through my endeavors in the trucking industry. So it is my hope that guys coming into the industry or who are in the industry, doesn't matter how much experience you think you have, or I have, we all have things to learn. We all have bad habits, and it's important for us to grow and to make this industry a great industry for everyone else coming into it, leaving it, and who are currently in it. Oh, okay. Now let's begin. You want to be a truck driver. This is at some point a topic you have considered. So it's good to have information, right? And to be able to make an informed decision with said information. So I'm going to start from the beginning. Now, you've probably heard that truck drivers make pretty good money and things like that. Well, yes and no. It goes both ways. Some is mediocre, some is great, some is bad. It just depends on the job. So let me start you off at the beginning. Commitments. This is the most important thing you need to consider. Do you have a wife, a husband, girlfriend, boyfriend? You have kids, family members that need your presence at home. Dogs, cats, any type of commitment that will keep you from making a living in this career, because it's not, like I said, it's not for everyone. Boyfriends and girlfriends, wives and husbands, look, if you're on the road, they're going to affect you. They're going to affect your emotional status. They're going to affect your mental status. They're going to affect everything, because they're going to want you to come home. They might appreciate the money you make. They might appreciate what you do. But what you need to understand is they have needs and desires. And that is for you to come home and to be home. Okay? So you need to understand that. Are your commitments such that they will keep you home, or will make you wish that you were home and therefore end your career rather quickly? This has happened. My friend Jason, who was a trainer, had a young Mexican male who is from Laredo, Texas. He had a logo under Laredo, Texas, because they have a drop there in the company he was training with. He let the young man go spend time with his family for a couple hours before they had to leave. Well, when he got back in the truck, they didn't make it past San Antonio. He dropped the guy off. The guy was homesick already and therefore ended his trucking career that fast. He was a trainee. So that hopefully will put it in perspective for you. All right. It's hard to be on the road when you have kids, when you have loved ones that need you, especially a husband or a wife, whatever the case may be. It's very difficult. You're going to miss them. You're going to be alone. You're going to be in a truck. They're going to be home. A wife is going to need you. A husband is going to need you, dealing with the kids, this and that. So that's what you got to consider. Now, the next thing is safety. Can you perform the safety functions required to be a safe participant on the road? Now, what does that mean? It means, can you multitask? Can you, your perception, can you look at mirrors? Can you stare ahead? Can you see at night with light shining in your face? Can you emotionally handle the stress of the road? Because you see a lot of people have road rage, and they're just going at it. They're just cussing up a storm. It doesn't matter if the person in the other car hears you or not. You go through these tirades, of emotional outbursts, and it affects you, and it'll stress you out in a truck, because you're going to go through the worst traffic you can imagine in these trucks. It's going to happen. You're going to feel it. You're going to see it. You're going to experience it. So you have to consider that. Other safety aspects is getting in and out of the truck, checking the truck, learning the components and things of that, whether it be tires, shocks, engine, knowing when your truck needs to be serviced, knowing when your trailer needs to be serviced, knowing, if you have the right load or not. These are all things you need to consider, because they're part of the job. Can you work in adverse weather, rain, snow? I mean, you're going to get all the weather. You're going to get all of it. No matter if it's hot, it's cold, whatever. It's the job. So some jobs come with no touch freight. That means you don't have to unload, load, tailgate, do none of that. Some come with drop and hook. That means you drop a trailer, you pick up another trailer. You're not getting live loaded or live unloaded. So you're not sitting there in the shipper receiver for a while this is happening. But not all jobs are like that. Not all jobs are so gravy as that. And it doesn't mean you'll ever have a job like that. Okay? There are touch freight jobs where you have to assist in the unloading or loading of the freight. There's quite a few jobs like that. And so then the first thing is considered is whether you're going to go learn from a trucking company to get your CDL or a trucking school. Now there is a difference, right? There are companies who will train you. They have special programs, departments that train people who want to get a CDL Class A license. So I'm not going to go into who does that because that's not what this is about. This is about whether you want to come into this industry. Who, what, where, how, and why. That's all a whole nother video. But this is informational. That way you can make an informed decision. Now, do you want to go to a trucking school? Those are independent. That means that you go to a independent school, and you'll either have an employment verification letter from a company. That way, that trucking school can build that company for your education, and therefore that company will hire you out of school. Or you will go there on your own dime and get your CDL by paying it yourself, or with financial aid. Then now there are companies who will bring you in and train you. There are quite a few companies who will do that. Now there are stipulations and things of that nature that you'll need before you can even go to that company. And when you talk to recruiters, they'll tell you what you need. It's up and down messing with recruiters at that point, but still, it doesn't matter. That's a whole nother video also. So so it depends on how you want to do it. Going through a company or going to a company to get trained, you will be contracted to that company for a certain number of months to a year in order to pay them back for that education. So you'll be stuck there, and if you leave, they'll hit you with the bill. And the bill will be significantly higher than what you originally signed for, because that's a clause. Now, when you go into a trucking school and get hired through a company, it could probably be the same thing. You can get hired on through a company right out of school, and they're going to pay for your tuition, and therefore you're going to work with them. You're going to have a contract, to pay that back. And if you bounce on them early, then you'll probably have to pay a larger amount, as a clause. Now, there are also things called no competition clauses. Now, there are some companies that if they train you and you try to bounce on them, go to another company, they will try to sue that company so they can't hire you because you pretty much belong to them contractually. Now, you can get out of those contracts, and it's very easy to get out of those contracts. It's very simple. Let them terminate you. Leave the company and don't go back, and wait. In about a week, 2 weeks, they'll eventually just fire you and terminate you. Now, will that be on your record? It might be. Mine wasn't. So what you can do is you'll tell the other company that you're going to that, hey, look, I didn't want to drive for them. I just wanted to get my CDL, so I found a loophole in their system, and I let them just terminate me, and therefore got out of their competition clause. You have no thing to fear about them suing you for hiring me. Okay, that's because that's a real thing. Now, going into a truck company, you have a few things to consider. Okay, there are local jobs, there are dedicated jobs, there are regional jobs, and OTR jobs. Right. So let's go over each one. Local, home daily means local means that you are pretty much in your area of around your home, within a certain amount of miles, and therefore you drive locally, and you might be home every day. You might be home every other day. It just depends on your route, and so then you might go to the next state, you might not. It just depends on the company and what type of locale you're going to be in. Each area is different. Okay, Columbus, Ohio, Lexington, Kentucky, Toledo, Ohio, they're not all the same with their local companies. So you got to research Do your due diligence, research all these companies, okay, before you get mixed in with them. Don't think the grass is always greener on the other side, because it might just be fake turf over there. Sorry, that's my phone. Now, dedicated. Dedicated is doing the same consistent route daily or weekly. Okay. So what does that mean? That means, say I live in Columbus, Ohio, right? And I drive for ABC Trucking. I'm not sure if that's a real trucking company. It might be. I don't know, but I'm just using that as an example. So don't quote me on that on the trucking name. ABC Trucking. That's who I'm working for. They got me in a dedicated route. Said dedicated route goes, say, to Birmingham, Alabama, and back. It's the same route every week, every day. You know, you just back and forth. That's all you do, right? It might be the same load, might not be the same load. It just depends on what you're hauling, what your company hauls or hauls for someone else. Like you got companies who haul from Amazon, right? So you might have a dedicated route hauling Amazon stuff. So you might go down to Hebron, Kentucky, to the Amazon distribution center right there, and haul freight out of there and take it down to, say, Knoxville, Tennessee, and then come right back up. And that's all you do. You go back and forth. And then you go home to do your 34-hour reset. All right. Now, regional. Regional is that you're restricted to a certain geographical location. So say you're from Kentucky, right? For example, a region might be Kentucky, Ohio, Virginia, West Virginia, Tennessee, Indiana, Illinois, or it might only be a few states. That's regional. So you might be home a couple times a week. You might be home once a week. You might be home once every 2 weeks. It just depends on how you are indentured to that company that you're driving for. But that's regional. You're restricted to a very small geographical area within the United States. It could be like you're just a Midwest driver, so you're stuck with Midwest states. What are Midwest states? You got Indiana, Illinois, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, Missouri, Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky. You know, all them little states right there. Maybe a few more. Most likely there's a few more. So that's an example. Now OTR. All right. Well, let me clarify some things on regional. Regional. Like I said, you might be home a couple times a week, one time a week, or once every couple of weeks. It just depends on what exactly you're doing and what you have agreed upon with the company you're driving for. Now, OTR. OTR means over the road. Over the road means you're everywhere, coast to coast, border to border, right? You agree when you drive for that company to go everywhere. Now, OTR, when you're signed up as an OTR driver, they typically want you to stay out for 2 to 3 weeks, right? Now, that's important because what you got to understand is, as an OTR driver, to maximize your bottom dollar, you know, to make the most money, is to stay out as long as you can. That's why knowing what your commitments are back at home is so important before you decide to jump in this industry. Because if you think you're going to OTR because you believe that's where the money's at, and it kind of is, then you are going to be missing people. People are going to be missing you, and they're going to be at you about how much they miss you and love you, and they want you to come home, this and that. They're going to be tugging at your heartstrings or whatever, guilt trips, pity parties, you know, what sympathies, whatever they need to do. So you need to understand that before you jump in as an OTR driver, you can sustain that type of lifestyle. You know, because a lot of guys can't. There are guys who cannot do that. All right, so you need to understand that. You need to understand that if you're living in Ohio or Indiana or whatever, and you're all the way in California, you can sustain that. All right. Now let me break something down to you. As an OTR driver, say you want to come home for a 34. Now, when you come home, all right, when you come home, every day you stay at home, that is not a 34-hour reset or beyond, is less money you make. That's why it's so important for OTR drivers to understand that and know that the longer they stay out, the more, not just the more money you make. Some companies will pay you extra money the longer you do stay out. That is a fact. Some companies actually do that. Some companies will pay you more after a certain amount of miles. You know, you get a little mileage bonus. All right, but when you stay out and all you're doing is 34-hour resets, when you run recaps, or I'm not about to get in the terminology, but say You're out there, you're right, week to week, 34-hour reset. So you stop for a day and a half, then you take back off. You're back to work. All right. Now, when you go home, you need to schedule your home time strategically to where you can still maximize your bottom dollar. Now, how do you do that? Well, does your company run on the weekends? Do they sit you down on the weekends? Is it hard to get dispatched on the weekends with loads and things like that? So if that's the case, then get routed back home with a load that delivers Monday. So you pick up a load Friday, you go home, and you sit at home all day, half the day Friday or whatever, maybe some of the day. Your home is all day Saturday and half the day Sunday, and you take off and go deliver your load for your appointed time Monday. So that's a decent way of maximizing that amount of knowledge. You have a load, you take it home. Some companies that will actually do that for you. Not all of them will. Some companies you have to park your truck at a terminal with the load. So it just depends. You have to know the company you're about to work for. That is very important. You need to hash out all the details, your can do's and cannot do's, right? And then you have your rider policy and pet policy. Now let me explain this. Now you need to understand that there's a rider policy in place with all these companies. And what this means is you have to get a rider, whoever's going to be your rider, approved. Now, a lot of these truck companies have an age category, right? Might be 10 and up, might be 11 and up, might be 12 and up. Some might not have any age category whatsoever, and you can bring a small child, like if you have a young son or a daughter, niece or nephew, or whatever the case may be. So and that is tied to their insurance. That's what you need to understand. It's not the company being arbitrary or capricious about what they're doing. They're not trying to be mean. It's that their insurance requires that. And so when you fill out rider authorization agreements and things like that, that is for their insurance, for your rider to be covered. And some insurance companies don't cover young riders. So that's what you got to understand. And they don't cover also people who might have CDLs that might want to come with you, because they don't want you to, or someone in the truck that might try to drive your truck, or you might let them drive your truck, or whatever the case may be. So you got to understand that if you get caught with someone in your truck who's not supposed to be there, you will most likely get terminated. They will fire you. That is almost like 100% chance that that's going to happen. So you need to follow the policy. That is very serious. It's an insurance issue. You need to understand that the company is liable. You will be held liable if something happens to that rider in your truck when they are not properly insured. So, pet policy. Now, I have somewhat of a different disagreement with some companies, because they say, oh, we don't allow vicious breeds. And by that, they say like pit bulls and Rottweilers and dogs like that. Let me tell you something. It's been so debunked that pit bulls are not a vicious breed. On my Facebook channel, I'm subscribed to Pity Nation, and some of these, I can show you 1,000 videos on how sweet and loyal these dogs are. It's about the upbringing, the training. These dogs, they're bred this way, but they have an inclination towards love and loyalty to their masters and owners and families and things like that. So people need to understand that, right? And I've seen so many drivers have pit bulls in their trucks. And some of these dogs are so beautiful, and they're great dogs, right? Who in the hell is going to break in your truck when they see only a face a mother can love, looking at them? Not very many people are gonna challenge that. And then there are large dogs. They say, oh, you don't allow large dogs. Now you got to understand there is an issue, can be issue with a large dog. A dog moving around your truck, right? Because they're not buckled in, right? He might hit your shifter. He might hit a button. He might hit something in. You might have to brake, and he come flying up from the sleeper and hit you, or go through the windshield or whatever. So these are things you need to have perspective on and know that companies most times are not trying to be arbitrary and capricious about things. They're trying to satisfy their insurance policies. Oh, okay. So then you got to figure out if you're going to have any endorsements, whether you're going to pull 2 trailers, 3 trailers, or you're going to pull tankers, hazmat, things of that nature. So if you're going to do flatbed, specialized transportation, being heavy or very heavy stuff that puts you over a gross vehicle weight of 80,000 pounds, or is oversized, which can be it's more than 8.5 feet wide and more than 53 feet long, and more than 13.5 feet tall. So these are all things you need to consider. And so after all this information I have just given you, do you still want to be a truck driver? Do you want to be on the road knowing that there is a bunch of passenger cars and trucks out there that drive so unsafely, and they have no consideration for your space and your inability to stop in a very small distance on the road? A lot of people, they're not considering these things. They're very complacent. And a truck driver cannot be complacent, because you have to drive so defensively. You have to drive for everyone else around you, right? And unfortunately, there are a lot of truck drivers out here that drive these trucks like they're cars and pickups, because the truck industry now is becoming saturated with all these trainees who are just flying through schools and these companies who train, that they're not learning the appropriate mindset to drive a truck. They're not being taught how to be safe truck drivers, right? Because a lot of trainers, and this is unfortunate now, a lot of trainers are not training these guys properly, these men and women properly. They're training only to make money. I have a friend who went to a company, and I'm not going to name that company, I'm not going to name my friend, but he said his trainer never taught him how to back up, never taught him how to back. And you got to understand, I mean, they're coast to coast. I mean, this was OTR stuff. So, and he said every time they had end up in a back situation, his trainer would do it. Well, you have a trainer driving a truck on someone else's clock. That is illegal, for one. And then you're not teaching this man how to back up. And there's a lot of circumstances that he might be required to back up, like in a truck stop, right? And most of the trucking accidents that happen in the United States or whatever happen in truck stops because of this. Just this year, I've been hit twice from people in truck stops. One backing up and one cutting too close and caught onto my truck and actually dragged my truck sideways and forward, almost hit the truck in front of me. So truck stops, accidents are caused by complacency and not performing to get out and look and things of that nature, and just speeding through there. All these Billy Big Riggers or whatever you want to call them, or they just have really bad habits. They get complacent. They drive these big trucks like they're cars, and that type of thing absolutely needs to stop. It's imperative, right? And driving safely around, unsafely around passenger vehicles, getting on and off exits and things like that. And truck drivers coming in this industry, you got to understand you have to have a certain amount of courtesy and professionalism, because one, you're in a business. All right, either working for a business or you're trying to establish your own. In any case, excuse me, we're trying to make truck drivers and trucking in general have a how do you want to say it? We're trying to make everything look better. We're trying to give it a better name. That when people see trucks, they do have courtesy for us. They allow us to move over and merge. They allow us on exits. They don't cut us off. They think about the space that we need to drive safely. That 6, 7 or more seconds that's supposed to be in front of us, and you got so many people just cut off in front of you and just stay right on your nose. That happens all the time. People pass you, get in front of you, and slow down. All these things are going to make you upset. People who are riding right next to you in a 3-lane area, and they have all this room to get over to the 3rd lane, and they don't. You might want to merge over into the left lane and to the second right lane, because you have to get over, because maybe there's a stop vehicle with his 4-ways on, and by law you have to move over if you can, and you put your left-hand blinker on, and then the individual next to you has an entire lane that he can move over in, and he doesn't. So what do you do in that case? Well, obviously you slow down and then get behind him, but you're going to face so many unsafe circumstances because of other drivers and other truck drivers. the lack of professionalism in the trucking industry is astounding. And I did a video on that, on some of the bad habits. But coming into this industry, you need to understand and set your mind to how you're going to conduct yourself in this vehicle, whether you're going to a shipper or receiver, how you dress. Are you going to go into a shipper and receiver with a pair of shorts, a tank top, and some sandals? I mean, where's the professionalism? What are we doing as drivers to make our image look better? Be professional. Dress for success, even in a truck. My clothes, I have jeans, I have boots, I have regular shoes, I have my Ohio State gear, I have Adidas and stuff like that. So I have an assortment of clothes that I wear. I don't, I like to look professional. I like to look nice and good and presentable to people, because sometimes your image and how you present yourself will last in somebody's mind, and that's important. And truck companies like that. They like that when you pull up at a shipper and you get out, you're presentable, right? You don't get out like you're Fred Flintstone, I mean, let's not be like that as truck drivers. So if you're coming in the industry, already set your mind on professionalism, that you're going to conduct yourself in such a manner that people are going to want to do business with you. They're going to want to talk to you. They're going to want to congratulate you because you're doing a good job. I'm not trying to honk my own horn or whatever. I've been fist bumped from some of the situations I've been in that I was able to get myself out of. Not a result of anything I did wrong. It's just like driving in Chicago, and docking off of the streets that you have to actually run over curbs in order to back up and into some of these tight places. And people are like, wow, you did a really good job. Congratulations, to fist bump you. Things like, my mother was with me for 2 weeks in a truck as I went up through Cali into Washington all the way up to by Canada, came all the way back over in LA, in San Leandro, Oakland, San Francisco, San Jose, Palo Alto. You get in some of these places that are very tight. And it's nice when you have someone in a passenger car, roll his window and say, good job, man. That's great. And, I got some of those, and that's awesome. I love that, and hey, thank you very much. I appreciate the compliment. So this is the demeanor you want to have as a truck driver. Now, can you be comfortable in your truck? Absolutely. There's times where I drive with my sandals on, right? And shorts and a tank top, just because you want to be comfortable and things like that. But when you go to get out of your truck to handle business, I'm talking about business, not truck stop stuff and things like that. Hey, put your shoes on, put a shirt on, put a hat on, whatever. Conduct yourself in a business-like manner and be very professional about it. So if you guys have any questions, please hit me up and let me know what I have so much information, and I want you guys to have it. This is what I have it for, And so with that, I want you guys to subscribe to Randy's Trucking Life. I'm gonna make a Facebook page. It's gonna be all about trucking. I'm gonna explain some rules to this Facebook page at a certain time when I deem necessary, when I get it all figured out, and I post it. So with that, you guys have a good day, good night, good morning, whatever the case may be, and I hope you make a informed, intelligent decision.